Yo, what up, Street Dogs? Here, Kim. Alright, another turbo thought. This one is regarding skepticism. So, I think actually in order to become more wise, and it seems like wisdom is everything we're all looking for. To become more wise, become more skeptical, and become less suckered by X, Y, and Z. So, this is a problem. I think Nassim Taleb says it quite eloquently is, do not mistake absence of evidence for evidence of absence. So for example, it's impossible to actually know the fullest extent of the truth if you don't actually have access to all the informations, right? So for example, there's a lot of things which are hidden from our view, which we will never 100% know the full story. And that's why the only best thing to study is yourself and your own life experiences. And even also the problem too, we often misremember our own personal life stories. So let's say you experienced trauma as a kid, and you're like, this sucked, you might have actually misremembered your past, or let's say you had shitty parents. Impossible to actually know how to really analyze it, because you don't actually know all the skeletons in the closet that your parents have. We know the skeletons are all in our own personal closet. But once again, everything is a little bit fallacious, right? And even Jeff Bezos says it eloquently. The internet is a huge confirmation bias machine, which means, for example, whatever I Google, it'll confirm what I already think. So for example, if I Google why eating meat is bad for you, I'll find a quadrillion things. Or if I Google why eating meat is good for you, I'll find a trillion things too. So to always be skeptical of yourself, your own beliefs, seems like it's an effective road to a deeper truth, a deeper personal truth, whatever it may be. So let me give some more examples. So for example, the whole George Floyd thing, right? Like, I can't breathe, and whatever happened to him. So the big issue is, we're never always gonna know a 100% truth what really happened, because this is where having access to the video footage and stuff like that is a little bit distracting, because we cannot know the 100% truth, because for example, we first watched the video that was leaked by the bystanders on the iPhone cameras of like what looked like Derek Chauvin tapping out George Floyd, just putting the knee on the neck, right? So it's like, you watch a video as a spectator on YouTube or whatever, and obviously it looks like, this like racist cop is trying to kill Derek Chauvin by putting his knee on his neck, right? And he says, I can't breathe, but he keeps doing it. So like, what the fuck? Like, why are you trying to kill him, right? But then if you watch the more recent body cam footage from the cops, you realize that the truth is actually a little bit more nuanced. Is that like, you see a fuller gamut of what really happened, and that actually even before Derek Chauvin put his knee on George Floyd's neck, George Floyd was saying, I can't breathe. So once again, it's very easy to get deceived by both photo, video, audio, anything. And even this is why I don't trust the news, anything either, because the point of the news is to just maximize advertising dollars. So it's actually not in the best interest of the news to actually give the full truth. And even this, sometimes the problem too, like let's say even you're reading the New York Times, I think, I give everyone benefit of the doubt, like the journalists, they're actually trying to do the right thing. But if the journalists don't have access to all the information, certainly you're going to get a biased perspective, which is not 100% representative of the full extent of reality and the truth, because this is why I think you'll never 100% sure know the fullest truth. Like, even if you look at George Floyd's toxicity report, that's, let's say whoever did the coroner's report, let's say that's biased, and then there was the second autopsy that was done is like, that could be biased too. And you look at the original thing with George Floyd's toxicity report, you saw that he had a lot of fentanyl in his system and some other kind of substances, but it's impossible to know. It's like, okay, did the fentanyl kill George Floyd, or did the fentanyl plus Derek Chauvin putting his knee on his neck cause the death? Or is there some other factors, X, Y, and Z, we don't even know about, which caused the death, right? So this is actually one of the things to be quite afraid of, the power of the camera to deceive. And once again, I don't think anyone's trying to really deceive anyone maliciously. It's just like, that's just human nature. It's like, we're never gonna have 100% access to any information, so we can't really know for sure. And even nowadays, we go on Wikipedia. We go on Wikipedia to search the truth, right? And there's so much information that is actually not being presented to us. So it's not necessarily being censored, it's just like there's never going to be the fullest truth and stuff like that. And so I think that even with like people trying to brainwash you, sometimes people could brainwash you by just not giving you all the facts and all the information. So for example, Karl Marx, for example, everyone's like, oh, into Marxism, socialism, communism, whatever. And what they don't tell you, and this is facts, is that like, Marx had an illegitimate son. He had a kid out of wedlock or whatever, but he hid that from anyone's view. So if you go to wikipedia.org and you search Karl Marx, typically for a lot of controversial figures, or notable figures, there's always like a controversy section or criticism section. Hello. But isn't it so funny that you go to like Karl Marx's page and there is no section that says criticism or critique, and it doesn't mention nowhere about his illegitimate kids. So once again, like, it's like a lot of the internet is kind of whitewashed and it's kind of scrubbed down. And the only way to get really a deeper sense of the truth is, reading books or using DuckDuckGo.com, trying to find other perspectives. So that's why even nowadays when it comes to politics, I'm like, dude, it's hard for me to have a definitive opinion on anything because I could only draw on my own personal life experiences. But all these politicians, right? I think all politicians are dirty. It don't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, even a libertarian. Everyone's doing super dirty, shady stuff under the table. And so it seems that the only logical thing for us to do is to be skeptical towards all politicians. And rather, it's better for us to treat politicians like wrestlers. Like, we all know the WWF and wrestling is fake. So let's realize that a lot of the things we see in the media is fake, cannot be trusted. At the end of the day, the only person you could probably trust is yourself.